Imagine waking up one morning to find your entire world has changed overnight. The bells in your church fall silent. The flags above your city's walls are replaced. The laws that governed your life yesterday are now forgotten, replaced by something entirely foreign. But this wasn't just a political upheaval. For millions of Christian women living across the Mediterranean, the Balkans, and Anatolia, the Ottoman conquests brought something far more personal and complicated than conquest itself. Today, we're going to explore a chapter of history that rarely makes it into mainstream conversations, a chapter written not by generals and diplomats, but by the women who had to navigate survival, faith, identity, and dignity in one of history's most transformative periods. This is the story they left behind. Hello and welcome back to Solway. I'm so glad you're here with me today. If you're new to this channel, we explore the intersection of faith, history, and humanity stories that challenge us to think deeper about the world we've inherited. Whether you're watching because you're interested in Ottoman history, Christian tradition, women's history, or simply human resilience, this video is made for you. Before we dive in, I'd really love for you to hit that subscribe button. Not just for the algorithm, but because every week, we uncover stories like this one, stories that deserve to be heard and remembered. Now, let's talk about a period that shaped our modern world in ways most of us do and fully understand. Are you ready? Let's begin. The context. Understanding the Ottoman expansion. To understand the struggles of Christian women during Ottoman conquests, we first need to set the stage. The Ottoman Empire began as a small Turkish principality in the 14th century, but within just 2 centuries, it had become one of history's most expansive empires. From 1355 onwards, the Ottomans began a systematic conquest of Christian territories, first the Balkans, then Anatolia, and eventually parts of Eastern Europe and the Mediterranean. But here's what most history textbooks gloss over. Conquest didn't happen all at once. It was gradual, complex, and deeply personal for those living through it. When we think of conquest, we typically imagine battlefields and military strategies. But the real conquest, the one that reshaped civilization, happened in homes, in communities, and in the hearts of people who suddenly found themselves subjects of a new empire, governed by unfamiliar laws and customs. Ottoman expansion. But the experiences of women, both Christian and Muslim, were often erased from these grand narratives. They were footnotes if they appeared at all. This is what we're here to correct today. Quick reflection question for you. Have you ever considered how historical events impact women differently than men? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. I genuinely want to hear your perspective. Legal frameworks and loss of status now. Let's talk about the legal reality Christian women faced under Ottoman rule. In the Byzantine and medieval European Christian societies that preceded Ottoman rule, Christian women, particularly those from nobility and merchant classes, had certain protections and status within their communities. They could own property in some regions, had inheritance rights though often limited compared to men, and possessed legal standing within Christian ecclesiastical law. The Ottoman legal system, based on Islamic Sharia law, operated very differently. Islamic law granted many protections to Muslim women, and sometimes more than Christian societies offered. But because Christian women were under a new system, the transition was difficult and often confusing. This video only explores historical experiences, not to judge any faith, but to understand human stories. And this is crucial to understand. I'm not here to make moral judgments about these systems. Both have their complexities. Under Ottoman rule, Christian women fell under the category of dhimmiya, protected but subordinate status. Non-Muslims, they had fewer legal rights, paid different taxes, and had limited ability to testify in Ottoman courts. Some inheritance rights diminished. Guardianship laws changed. What was yours yesterday might belong to the state or the mosque today. But here's where it gets more nuanced, and this is important. The Ottoman Empire didn't uniformly apply these laws across all territories. Local customs often persisted. Christian women sometimes maintained property rights through their community's internal legal structures. Here, reality was messier than a simple narrative of oppression versus freedom. Another thought-provoking question. Do you think conquest necessarily means that all rights disappear overnight? Or is the process more complicated? I'd love to read your thoughts in the comments. Let's talk about one of the most painful realities Christian women faced under Ottoman rule, the devshirme system. This was the practice of taking young boys from Christian families to be trained as soldiers and administrators for the empire. Imagine being a mother in the Balkans. Officials arrive and take your son. He's educated, converted, and serves the state, often never to return home. This wasn't an Islamic religious command, but a state policy for administrative control. For mothers, the effect was devastating, severing family lines and traditions. Yet history is complex. Some of these boys rose to high positions, and some families even saw it as a path to social mobility. This created an impossible dilemma. Was it betrayal or survival? In pre-Ottoman Christian societies, women participated in local economies, whether as merchants' wives, artisans, farmers, or traders. While these roles were limited by gender, they provided economic security and a sense of contribution to family and community. Under Ottoman rule, new tax systems and labor regulations fundamentally disrupted these patterns. The Ottoman state claimed ownership over much of the land. Agricultural output was now taxed differently. Trade was reorganized under Ottoman merchant guilds, which often had ethnic and religious hierarchies built into them. For Christian women, this meant something concrete. Economic opportunity became more limited. Many Christian women moved into domestic labor or agricultural work. Some entered the service of Ottoman Muslim households. Others maintained traditional crafts, but under more restrictive conditions. But here's the surprising element many people miss. In some regions, Christian women began engaging in new forms of economic activity. They became moneylenders, operated coffee houses in regions where this was permitted, engaged in textile production, and sometimes achieved considerable wealth and independence through Ottoman economic systems. The reality was neither purely oppressive nor purely liberating. It was a restructuring of opportunity. Some doors closed, others opened in different ways. Do you think economic constraints automatically suppress human capability? Or can people find creative ways to thrive even within limiting systems? Let me know your thoughts. This is a broader question about human resilience. The tragedy and resilience. Personal stories within the larger narrative. Now, let me bring this down to the human level. Because statistics and systems are important, but they don't capture the actual lived experience. Consider the story of a Christian woman in 5th-10th century Thessaly. Her name is lost to history, but her story echoes through the centuries. When the Ottomans conquered her region, she was a widow, perhaps 40 years old. She had owned property, had inherited her husband's business interests, had some standing in her community. Within months, that changed. Her property was reassessed under Ottoman law. Her legal standing diminished. She had a daughter approaching marriage age, and suddenly the pool of eligible Christian men was shrinking because so many had been taken in the devshirme. This woman faced a choice many Christian women faced: convert to Islam, which would restore some property rights and status but cost her religious identity, or remain Christian and accept a diminished economic and social position. We don't know what she chose. Her name is gone. But millions of women like her made these impossible decisions. Yet here's what's equally important. Despite these constraints, Christian women maintained their communities. They organized schools where children could learn to read. They preserved liturgical practices. They became healers, using traditional knowledge to care for their communities. They transmitted culture through music, food, embroidery, through the countless small acts that constitute civilization. This is not a story of complete victimhood, nor is it a story of unbroken triumph. It's a story of human beings navigating impossible circumstances with whatever agency they possessed. If you were documenting your own life during a moment of profound upheaval, what would you want future generations to know about you? Not the grand historical narrative, but your actual daily experience? I genuinely want to read your responses. Long-term transformations and legacy. By the 18th and 19th centuries, the immediate trauma of conquest had transformed into long-term cultural reality. Christian women in Ottoman territories had become a distinct demographic group with their own traditions, practices, and accommodations with Ottoman rule. Their experiences during these centuries shaped the cultural memory of Christian communities throughout the Ottoman Empire. The resilience of Christian Orthodox churches, the preservation of liturgical traditions, the emphasis on family as the primary unit of faith transmission. These all trace back to women's role during the conquest period. Simultaneously, Ottoman Muslim women's histories were equally complex, shaped by their own interactions with newly incorporated Christian populations. The encounter between these communities, mediated largely through women's experiences in households, markets, and religious spaces, created the multicultural reality of the Ottoman world. Thank you so much for taking this historical journey with me today. I know this was a complex story with no simple answers, and that's exactly the point.